Welcome back. Hey, peace, intrepid space clits. Peace, y'all. Oh man, the weather's so beautiful here in Hawaii right now. Today, it's like a perfect breeze, and the sun's out, and it's been kind of cloudy the last couple of days, so it feels really good that the sun's out today. So probably go to the beach today, try to get in some water, just near the water, and enjoy the day. But I just want to get on live and just have a little chat with myself in front of an audience. Yeah, it's like on YouTube. If I look at my track record of videos, most of them don't have any negative comments, or negative or thumbs down, I should say, or negative comments. So mostly, like, videos I do get positive remarks, and they get thumbs up. So it's interesting. Certain topics, certain things generate negative responses in people, and I understand why. Because it's so plain to see. And it also depends how the message is being shared, right? Like, people don't like when you speak confidently, or some people don't like, because they feel like it's convicting them. But I was thinking about this, and it made me realize that nobody can convict you. You could only convict yourself. Now, somebody could say something, they could make a judgment or say a statement, but really, the conviction is something that happens within yourself, because you relay that information back to yourself, and when you find that it applies to you, it sparks a feeling, which we call conviction, right? So people will feel convicted if they hear a message said in a certain way or with a certain tone, or just simply something that's true and applies to them in their life. They'll feel convicted, but then they'll try to point at you for saying it when you're not the issue, because it shouldn't matter what anybody says. Even like judges, right? You could say, well, judges convict people. No, they don't. Nobody could convict you but yourself. All a judge could do is he could sentence you and use the force of a system to put you in a cage. But if you know you didn't do the crime, if you know you're not guilty, if you know that what that judge sentenced you with doesn't apply to you, you won't feel conviction within you. You might feel anger, you might feel disappointment, you might feel rage, but you won't feel conviction, because conviction is only something that happens when what's being said is recognized as truth within your own self. You see? So anytime you say something and people respond in a certain way, is because they feel convicted. But it isn't because what you're saying is a lie. It's because what you're saying sparks something deep within them, and they might not even know. It might be subconscious, where the subconscious is realizing its own self through an outside source to be able to reflect itself and be like, oh shit, that's me right there. So, but in the process, is interpreted and comes out as a fit of rage, as a backlash to a message that somebody said. So I found it very interesting, because like I said, a lot of the videos that I make, are pretty positive. You generally give a positive response, but when I choose to go into certain topics, I will experience resistance. And I think that's the important topics that we need to talk about. Topics that are taboo. And I like taboo shit, because taboo is where the shit that we need to work on lurks and hides out in these taboo areas of our society, of our civilization, of our culture. These taboo topics, they're taboo for a reason, because it's the uncomfortable places where people don't want to go. Things like death, things like polygamy, things like sexuality, things like spirituality, diet. All of that shit is shit that people don't, that they hide behind that. They don't want to confront that. So I like talking about taboo things. because I feel like that's where the growth is in humanity, not in the comfort, but in the discomfort of talking about something that makes you uncomfortable because you haven't faced it, or because it's something within you that resists it completely, you know? So I had made a video and people were like making negative comments, and I learned a lot through these exchanges of energy, through these commentaries and dialogue that I had with these people, because they were confidently telling me that I shouldn't teach, that I shouldn't share my experience with the world. They were saying something along the lines that I am not qualified to share a message. At that very same instant, they were actually doing the same thing that they were accusing me of. Because in trying to convey a message to me, they were being that which in me that they didn't like. Because they were trying to tell me, look, you don't have all the answers. But then at the same time, they were trying to give me answers. See, so I know right there, that's just an example of how when we see things in people that we don't like, it's something within us that we don't like. It's really, life is just a projection of your own mind, you know, of your own belief systems, of what you hold near and dear to your heart, to your mind. It's all going to reflect that. You're going to gravitate towards that. And, you know, I could bring it back down to earth and make it not so ethereal, but you're going to focus on certain things based on what you prefer in life. So say you're into a certain sport, you're going to be in tune with the sports. You're going to know the teams and all of that. That kind of behavior and conscious awareness applies to all areas and facets of your life. So when you see someone in your reality who's displaying a behavior that you are finding that you resist, is because that same thing exists within you in some form or fashion. So when they come at me saying you shouldn't teach, you shouldn't share your experience, you're not qualified, but then you give me some sort of cultural indoctrination that you find by your own merit and standards to be acceptable, you're trying to put that onto me. Like, don't think that way. You shouldn't think that way. You shouldn't even be teaching to think that way. But then on the flip side, you giving me a way to think. You're like, think this way. This is the way you should think. I got it figured out. You don't have it figured out. You shouldn't even think that you have it figured out. But then trying to give you a way of life that you know that they think they got figured out. So that's when I see the hypocrisy in the teaching. You know, the hypocrisy in the conscious community. Or we so conscious and we so wise that we can't even learn. You know, our cup is full. We can't even see. Like somebody said, you got to be a certain age of experience before you can start teaching. Don't be teaching until you got a certain level of experience. But then I was like, nah, that's not true, because I could look at a child who has no experience in the world, who hasn't really learned anything, who has not been programmed. And that in itself right there can be the greatest and grandest lesson that I could possibly learn, is to be like that child, is to be in the moment, in the flow, is to just be going with things and not creating this alter ego for myself. That is the greatest lesson within itself. Yet that child doesn't hold no real wisdom in the sense that we consider it, you know? So people come with all kinds of ideologies, and this is what kills me, is that you just sitting somewhere teaching what you found to be true for you. Other people in search of truth find you, and then they have the audacity to criticize you. That's strange, because if you were focused so much on finding the truth and living it, there would be no time for this. There would be only time to notice the lessons. And this is what I've been trying to say for these last couple of videos that has been misconstrued and misunderstood in an attempt to vilify people, an attempt to vilify a certain character. Certain lessons have been set aside. Lessons that are so important to our growth have been suppressed, have been, you know, gone unacknowledged, because we're too focused on the things that we don't need to be focused on. And that's why I said, I've seen a lot of people in this journey who you might not think share the same path, the same journey, but it's the same in my eyes, because I see the same struggle, the same desire to want to heal, but it just plays out in different ways and fashions. And all of these people, they experience backlash. All these people, there's always somebody online talking shit. There's always somebody online criticizing. But that's just what comes along with it. In growth, when we project uncomfortability into the world because that's what we need to grow, people will reject it from afar. They'll reject it in you because they reject it within themselves. They don't want you to grow, therefore they vilify that. They make that into a negative. Oh, look at that, what's going on there. Tisk, tisk, tisk. You should you should, you thought you had to leave somewhere to be free. You thought you had to go somewhere. You can't run, you can't hide. Like, you just might as well stick to your 9 to 5. Because here's what I realized. Okay, you're here and other people are here, right? And these people see you. Well, people always want to close the gap. So there's 2 ways that they can close the gap. They could either come to you and do what you're doing and put in the amount of effort and, the amount of energy that you're putting to change yourself and become greater, or they could find ways to justify why you should come to them. So that's a lot easier because that doesn't require as much change. That doesn't require as much. It's not asking as much from the person, from the subject, to stay here and ask you to come here. So what they all a lot of the times decide to do is they want to lure you back in. Oh, you don't need to leave Babylon. You don't need to leave the system. You find here. You should be able to find happiness in this system. And while I understand the concept, I get what they're trying to say, because you can't run from yourself everywhere you go. There you are, whether you be in the middle of the jungle or the middle of New York City. You have to deal with yourself. Still, the decisions that we make to align ourselves to a place that we know is more conducive for ourselves are paramount and important as well. We can't deny or try to diminish the relevancy of finding your place in this realm, finding yourself in a natural environment. You wouldn't subject yourself to an environment that you know is not conducive by the laws of nature, by the laws of physics. You wouldn't do that. But in an attempt to try to close the gap without much action, they try to justify why we should go back to the lifestyle which they are currently living, which is not promoting any type of fulfillment, which is not really actively making change as much as they know subconsciously that it should. Yet they still reach out and try to close the gap without having much action. And so this is what I realized, and it just clicked, and I'm like, oh, they're trying to bring us back down. Because if we can go back to working a 9 to 5, go back to working, living in a normal setting, go back to doing the same things we were doing before, in their mind, it justifies ever having to take the journey. See? In their mind, if we go back, then what we're doing failed, meaning that they're on the right path by not doing any change in their life. That would justify in their mind, like, oh, then we ain't got to change. Because look, he went out to the jungle and try to change his life, and it didn't work. He had to come back to Babylon. So there you go. There's your answer. We don't got to change. We don't got to leave. Just keep eating the same, keep thinking the same, keep doing the same behavior because that person tried and failed. That's how they rationalize, having to preach to us to enslave ourselves back to a system that we're seeking sovereignty from, that we're seeking freedom from, and that's the way I look at it, because I realize everywhere I go, it don't matter if I'm in the middle of the city or if I'm in the middle of the jungle, I am who I am, yet who I am doesn't match with that system. It doesn't find fulfillment in that system, not because I'm trying to run away from that system, but because it's just not a vibrational match. Okay, it's just not a purposeful match. My purpose does not align with that world as far as being there and living there. And not saying that I condemn everybody, because this is what I say. Okay, we judge everything. But this is what people need to understand. The judges in the court, they do more than judge, okay? I agree with the judgment part, because when we look out into our reality, we're looking at things and we're making conscious decisions based off observation, which is judging. I judge that to be a plant. It's got chlorophyll. It's growing from the ground. It's got roots and it's producing leaves and fruit. Therefore, I judge that to be a plant. Okay, that's my judgment based off an observation. But what judges do, as well as judging, is that they condemn. They condemn you to jail for a certain amount of time, right? So apart from just making a judgment, which is fine, they condemn you and they use the force of that system to put you in a situation that is forcing you to be somewhere and do something that you don't want to do. That's a condemnation. That's condemning you. So people say don't judge you, not, right? Because I say something with conviction and I believe in what I say and people feel convicted, but I'm not condemning anybody, okay? I'm just making judgments in my world, in my reality, based off of what I want out of life. Yet I cannot condemn anybody. I can't tell you you're going to hell. I can't tell you that you're a bad person or that, this is what's going to happen to you. No, I can only make a judgment right here in the moment based off of what I could see, but I can't condemn anybody because anybody has a right and has the ability to change. I've seen and experienced massive change within myself and seen that in my reality, so I know the change is possible. So for me to condemn somebody would mean that I'll be ruling out the possibility that they could ever change. I'll be ruling out the opportunity to grow and overcome that which I judge in the current moment. You see what I'm saying? So don't get it confused. Condemnation and judgment are two different things, and when we can learn the difference between these two things, we will understand that it's okay to judge, but to condemn somebody is to close off the possibility that they could change from that current judgment into something other than that. See, so there's many disconnects, between the people that are listening to the message and commenting on it who aren't truly understanding, yet we're here to bring understanding, and I'm here to receive understanding. So we're all teachers, we're all students. Life is one big school, and if you're paying attention, if you're aware, and if you're really woke, then you know that, you'd realize that, and you wouldn't victimize yourself. You instead would look at all the lessons in life, and you would strive to take notes and take heed to all the lessons so that you can grow from that, so that you can overcome your weaknesses, overcome the inability to communicate, overcome the inability to deal with issues that have plagued your mind since the moment you began to be programmed, because we're all just living programmed. And people tell me I need to deprogram. I shouldn't be teaching until at least 1 year of deprogramming from the program that I was currently or previously experiencing. Yet, how much time shall I give them to deprogram themselves from the lifetime of programming that the system that they're still living in is pushing on them? How much time? You think a year is sufficient? You think 2 years is sufficient before they can tell me anything? Till they really deprogram from the system that they're still living in? See, so that's another disconnect. You're always programmed by something. You can be programmed by whatever you choose. That's even a conscious choice. Because you could choose to go to the army. You know damn well they're going to program you. That's no secret. It's a boot camp, okay? They're training people to kill, to survive, to fight. You know damn well that's a program. Yeah, you could make a conscious choice to go and be programmed there, to go and experience that architecture of thinking. You could do that. You can make that choice. So everything's a program, and this is what you got to understand. You're always going to be programmed by something, and culture is a programming as well. It don't matter if you're uncontacted tribe in the Amazon or you in Los Angeles. The program that you have is still a program. People in the Amazon running a different program, yet nonetheless, it is the very framework and software for the way they see life, for how they think, how they move in the world, how they experience different things, how they experience death and life and food, and how they interact with their environment. It's all a program, okay? So you can't escape being programmed, but you can choose what you will allow to program you. That's why you got to be careful what you watch, what you listen to, the people you interact with, because it's all part of that. It's all playing into the software that will be your subconscious mind. See? So be careful of these pseudo truths, because they're just trying to really vilify something that they don't really understand. They're lumping the truth in these different ways of thinking, and they're attributing that to people that they don't necessarily like, and trying to rule that out as possible. That's why I always say, it don't matter if Adolf Hitler or anybody you claim to be evil said it. If it's the truth, it's the truth, and it don't stop being the truth no matter who says it. I don't care if you don't like the way it sounds, you don't like the way the person's character is, the truth remains. And we can't throw away the truth because somebody whose character you don't agree with said it. You know, so that's my take. And I hope you learned something today, because this is growing season. You know, the sun's out, it's nurturing us. So life is out, there's lessons out every single day. Let that nurture you, and let that nurture your growth. Look for the lessons in life. Don't look to be a victim. You ain't no victim. You are who you are today because of the choices that you have made up until this point. You can do a lot. You can do a lot in your own power and in your own decision making to become better. If you think you're overweight, you want to lose some weight and get toned up, you could do a lot. You could do way more than you're doing right now. I guarantee you that. You're not a victim, okay? Even if your whole life you experienced that, even if your whole life you had that issue, it don't matter. You're not a victim. You could overcome it. You just got to focus, and you got to have discipline. You got to make that decision right now that you're going to do that. That's all it takes. It's not complex. It can be challenging, but it's not complex. The formula, the recipe is simple. But the decision and actually doing it, that's when it can get challenging, because you experience resistance, you experience turbulence, but you got to go through that to experience the result. Everybody's operating off of instant gratification, but they don't know the true value of delayed gratification. Wait to experience the gratitude, and that's when you'll be the most grateful. When you wait. Work out. Yeah, you might not see the result today, you might not see it in a week, shit, you might not notice you losing any weight. Keep going, keep doing it. Keep eating clean, keep eating healthy, keep eating in a way that's nourishing to your body. Know your body, study your body, know your habits. Work out, move your body, move this machine was meant to be moved around, not just sat down. You're meant to be in the sun, you're meant to be out in nature. Go for a run. Do this day after day, week after week, month after month. Don't worry about the results. Don't worry about that, because before you know it, you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to be like, damn, like, I really made some change. But don't let that stop you. Keep going. See, when you focus on the result, you too focus on the end, that any sign of you not reaching there will deter people. So they'll work out 1 day or 2 days or maybe even a week, and they'll look in the mirror looking for the result that they perceive in their mind. Not seeing it, they fall short and they stop. But no, you got to continue that. You got to live that every single day. Let that be your life. Let that be your teaching to the world, your lifestyle, the way you live. If you ain't got to say nothing, if you don't want to say nothing, if you feel like you can't communicate and talk with people online and present a message, you don't have to. Let your life be your lesson. Let what you do on a daily basis be your teaching to the world. And people will listen. People will be like, damn, like, what do you do? Like, your being is just a testament to something positive. And I could tell, because you glowing, because I could see it in you. I don't even got to ask you a question. I know you're doing something right. And that in itself will teach people. That in itself will be a lesson, you know. So, you know, that's just some words of encouragement. If you're still thinking about doing something, if you're still thinking about taking that plunge, there's nowhere else to jump into but into the abyss of reality, into the abyss of all the possibilities that ever existed. And you know what possibility you chase and you desire. Only you could, figure that out for yourself. But that step is crucial. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with that single step, you know. And so that's Lao Tzu. So I wanted to end my lives with a quote, and that just came out naturally, so I'm gonna close it off right there. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Okay. All right, you guys have a beautiful day.